Tonight, we'll venture into the shadows of the past, exploring 8 incredible puzzles scattered across the American landscape, from vanished colonies to impossible earthworks, from mysterious stone carvings to fossil graveyards that defy explanation. These are the riddles that keep researchers awake at night. Each location we'll visit holds secrets that challenge everything we think we know about ancient civilizations in North America. These aren't just old stories or forgotten legends. These are real places you can visit today. Chapter 1. The Utah Monolith, a modern mystery in ancient land. In November 2020, a helicopter crew conducting a wildlife count spotted something that shouldn't exist, rising from the red sandstone floor of Lockhart Basin in southeastern Utah. Stood a perfectly smooth, reflective metal pillar, approximately 10 to 12 feet tall. It gleamed like a mirror against the ancient canyon walls, creating one of the most striking contrasts imaginable between the modern and the timeless. The monolith, as it quickly became known, was constructed from what appeared to be stainless steel, riveted together with remarkable precision. It wasn't simply stuck into the ground. Whoever installed it had cut a neat triangular section from the sandstone and fitted the object so perfectly that it seemed to grow from the rock itself. The craftsmanship was impeccable, suggesting significant planning, skill, and effort. What made this discovery truly extraordinary was its location. Lockhart Basin sits in one of the most remote areas of Utah, accessible only by rugged four-wheel drive vehicles or lengthy hikes through challenging terrain. There are no roads that would accommodate the heavy equipment typically needed to transport and install such a structure. Yet, there it stood, as if it had materialized from thin air. The discovery rapidly captured global attention. Within days, the coordinates spread across social media platforms, and adventure seekers began making pilgrimages to see the mysterious object for themselves. The site became a magnet for photographers, conspiracy theorists, and curious visitors from around the world. The stark beauty of the monolith against Utah's iconic red rock landscape created images that seemed almost otherworldly. However, just as suddenly as it had been discovered, the monolith vanished. On the night of November 27, 2020, less than 2 weeks after its initial discovery, unknown individuals dismantled and removed the structure. Security camera footage later emerged showing 4 men working under cover of darkness, methodically taking apart the installation and carrying away the pieces. The removal was as mysterious as the installation. The individuals responsible left no trace of their identities, and despite extensive speculation and investigation, no one has definitively claimed responsibility for either creating or removing the monolith. This has led to numerous theories about its origin and purpose. Some observers suggest the monolith was created as an art installation, possibly inspired by the mysterious black monoliths from Stanley Kubrick's film 2001: A Space Odyssey. The precision of construction and the theatrical nature of both its placement and removal support this theory. Others propose it was a social experiment designed to test how quickly information spreads in our interconnected world and how people respond to unexplained phenomena. More practical theories focus on the logistics involved. Installing such a structure in such a remote location would require careful planning, specialized equipment, and intimate knowledge of the terrain. This suggests the creators had significant experience with Utah's backcountry and access to resources most people lack. Some speculate it could have been the work of local artists or outdoor enthusiasts familiar with the area. The timing of the monolith's appearance and discovery also raises questions. Satellite imagery analysis suggests the object may have been in place for several years before its discovery, meaning it had been quietly standing in the desert, unknown to the world, until the helicopter crew happened to spot it during their routine flight. The global fascination with the Utah monolith spawned numerous copycat installations around the world, from Romania to California to the Isle of Wight. However, none captured the imagination quite like the original, perhaps because none combine the same elements of mystery, isolation, and perfect execution. What makes this modern mystery particularly intriguing is how it demonstrates that even in our age of satellite surveillance and global connectivity, it's still possible for something to appear and disappear without leaving clear answers. The monolith's brief existence raised questions about art, mystery, and human nature itself. Why are we so drawn to unexplained objects? What does our response to mystery reveal about our relationship with the unknown? The site where the monolith stood has returned to its natural state, with only slight marks in the sandstone remaining as evidence that anything was ever there. Visitors still make the challenging journey to see the location, drawn by the story even in the absence of the object itself. The empty space has become almost as fascinating as the monolith was, a testament to how mystery can transform even the most ordinary places into destinations. The Utah monolith represents a unique type of mystery, one that unfolded in real time in the modern era, documented and discussed by millions, yet ultimately leaving us with the same fundamental questions that ancient mysteries pose. Who created it? Why? And perhaps most importantly, what does it mean that in an age where we expect to know everything, some secrets still remain perfectly kept? Chapter 2. False Kiva, the Hidden Circle of Stone. Deep within the maze, like canyons of Canyonlands National Park, lies one of Utah's most carefully guarded secrets. Hidden inside a natural cave alcove, accessible only through a challenging scramble over slick rock and through narrow passages, sits a perfect circle of stacked sandstone blocks. This structure, known as False Kiva, represents one of the most enigmatic archaeological features in the American Southwest. The name itself tells a story of mystery and misunderstanding. When archaeologists first studied the structure, they initially believed it might be a kiva, the circular ceremonial chambers traditionally built by ancestral Puebloan peoples. However, further examination revealed significant differences from typical kivas. True kivas are usually built below ground level with specific architectural features, including fire hearths, ventilation systems, and symbolic elements that this structure lacks. Hence the designation False Kiva, though the true nature and purpose of the site remain completely unknown. The structure consists of carefully placed sandstone blocks, arranged in a perfect circle within a natural cave alcove high above the canyon floor. Stonework shows clear evidence of human construction, with blocks fitted together with obvious intention and skill. The circle measures approximately 8 feet in diameter and sits on a natural sandstone shelf that provides a commanding view of the surrounding canyon system. What makes False Kiva particularly mysterious is its isolated location and apparent lack of associated artifacts or structures. Most ancestral Puebloan sites exist as parts of larger settlements or show evidence of daily life activities like food preparation, tool making, or storage. False Kiva stands alone, with no midden heaps, no pottery sherds, no grinding stones, and no other indicators of habitation or regular use. The construction itself raises numerous questions. The builders carefully selected and transported stones to create the circle, requiring significant effort given the remote location. The placement within the cave alcove suggests the builders specifically chose this spot for reasons we can only speculate about. The natural acoustics of the alcove create interesting sound properties, and the opening frames specific views of the sky and distant canyon walls. Several theories attempt to explain False Kiva's purpose, though none can be definitively proven. One possibility is astronomical observation. The opening of the alcove could have served as a natural window for observing celestial events, with the stone circle providing a formal space for such activities. The positioning might align with particular seasonal phenomena, though detailed astronomical studies have not been conclusive. Another theory suggests ceremonial use, though different from traditional Kiva ceremonies. The isolated location and dramatic setting could have made it suitable for vision quests, individual spiritual practices, or initiation rituals that required privacy and separation from daily community life. The perfect acoustics might have enhanced chanting, singing, or other ritual activities. Some researchers propose practical explanations, suggesting the circle might have served as a foundation for a temporary shelter or as a work area for specific activities that required the unique properties of this location. However, the absence of associated artifacts makes such theories difficult to support. The structure's relationship to water is also intriguing. During certain weather conditions, water collects in natural basins near the site, and the alcove provides shelter from storms. This might have made it valuable as a temporary refuge or rest stop for travelers moving through the canyon system. The circle could have provided a formal gathering space for such occasions. False Kiva's preservation owes much to its hidden location and the decision by park authorities to keep its exact whereabouts confidential. Unlike many archaeological sites that suffer from vandalism and overuse, False Kiva remains largely intact because access requires determination, preparation, and respect for both the landscape and the archaeological resource. The National Park Service intentionally provides no directions to the site and actively discourages attempts to find it. This policy protects the structure, but also adds to its mystique. The hidden nature of False Kiva means that discovering it requires the same kind of exploration and discovery that characterized the original builder's relationship with this landscape. Those who do find False Kiva often describe the experience as deeply moving. The combination of challenging access, dramatic natural setting, and mysterious human construction creates a powerful sense of connection to the past. Sitting within the stone circle, surrounded by the vast silence of the canyon country, visitors often report feeling a profound sense of mystery and wonder about the people who created this place. The dating of False Kiva presents another puzzle. While stylistically it appears consistent with ancestral Puebloan stonework from roughly 600 to 1300 CE, no direct dating has been possible without associated artifacts or organic materials suitable for radiocarbon analysis. The structure could be contemporary with the major ancestral Puebloan occupation of the region, or it could be significantly older or younger. Recent archaeological thinking has moved away from trying to force False Kiva into existing categories of site types. Instead, researchers increasingly view it as a unique creation that might not fit standard archaeological classifications. This perspective allows for the possibility that False Kiva represents a type of site or activity that we simply haven't encountered elsewhere or fully understood. The mystery of False Kiva ultimately reflects larger questions about how we interpret archaeological sites and understand ancient cultures. Sometimes the most intriguing sites are those that don't fit our expectations or categories, forcing us to acknowledge the limitations of our knowledge and the richness of human creativity and spiritual expression throughout history. Chapter 3: Goblin Valley, where nature meets ancient art. In south-central Utah lies one of the most otherworldly landscapes in North America, a place where geological forces have sculpted an army of stone beings that seem almost alive. Goblin Valley State Park protects thousands of mushroom-shaped rock formations called hoodoos, locally known as goblins, that rise from the valley floor like silent sentinels from another planet. But these natural wonders share their domain with human-created mysteries in the form of ancient rock art that adds layers of cultural intrigue to an already fascinating place. The goblin formations themselves result from millions of years of geological processes. The structures formed from Entrada sandstone, a geological formation laid down during the Jurassic period, approximately 170 million years ago, when this region lay beneath a vast desert. Over time, weathering and erosion carved the sandstone into the fantastical shapes we see today. The process involved differential erosion, where harder caprock protected softer underlying layers, creating the distinctive mushroom profiles that give the formations their character. What makes Goblin Valley particularly striking is the sheer number and variety of these formations. The valley contains thousands of individual goblins, each with its own unique personality and form. Some resemble faces or figures, others suggest animals or abstract sculptures. The red and orange sandstone glows dramatically in changing light conditions, creating an ever-shifting gallery of natural art that has captivated visitors since its discovery by modern explorers in the 1920s. However, the natural wonders of Goblin Valley don't tell the complete story. Scattered throughout the region, both within the state park and in surrounding areas, ancient peoples left their mark in the form of petroglyphs and pictographs. These rock art panels add a human dimension to the surreal landscape, creating a dialogue between natural and cultural forces that spans thousands of years. The rock art in and around Goblin Valley represents multiple time periods and cultural traditions. Some panels show the distinctive style of the Fremont people, who inhabited this region roughly from 300 to 1300 CE. Fremont rock art typically features anthropomorphic figures with elaborate headdresses, geometric designs, and animal representations that reflect their unique cultural perspective. Other panels may be attributed to later UT peoples who moved through this area in more recent centuries. The combination of bizarre natural formations and ancient human art creates an atmosphere unlike anywhere else. Walking through Goblin Valley feels like moving through a landscape where the boundaries between natural and supernatural, between geological time and human time, become blurred. The ancient artists who created rock art here were responding to the same sense of wonder and mystery that modern visitors experience. Some of the rock art appears to incorporate the natural formations into its composition. Petroglyphs were carved in locations where they interact visually with the Goblin formations, suggesting the ancient artists were conscious of the relationship between their work and the dramatic geological setting. This integration of art and landscape demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of visual composition and environmental harmony. The imagery in Goblin Valley area rock art includes common Fremont themes such as anthropomorphic figures, bighorn sheep, geometric patterns, and mysterious symbols whose meanings remain lost to time. However, the unique setting may have influenced the specific character of the art created here. Some researchers suggest that the otherworldly landscape might have held special spiritual significance, making it a destination for vision quests or ceremonial activities. The preservation challenges at Goblin Valley illustrate the delicate balance between public access and protection of both natural and cultural resources. The soft sandstone that creates the dramatic formations is also highly susceptible to damage from touching, climbing, and other human activities. Similarly, the rock art panels face threats from vandalism, weathering, and the cumulative impact of visitation. Park management strategies attempt to protect both the geological formations and the rock art, while still allowing visitors to experience the unique character of this place. Designated trails guide visitors through the most spectacular areas while protecting more fragile or sensitive sites. Educational programs help visitors understand both the geological processes that created the formations and the cultural significance of the rock art. Chapter 4: Chalk Creek Hieroglyphics, Symbols Without Translation. High in the mountains of central Utah, within the dense forests of the Fishlake National Forest, lies one of the state's most puzzling archaeological enigmas. In 1939, a Forest Service employee made a discovery that would challenge conventional understanding of rock art in the American West. Carved into a remote cliff face along Chalk Creek were symbols unlike any previously documented in the region, intricate markings that resembled hieroglyphics more than typical Native American petroglyphs. The discovery site sits at an elevation of approximately 8,000 feet, surrounded by aspen and conifer forests and terrain that would have been challenging to reach even for ancient peoples familiar with mountain travel. The carvings appear on a cliff face that provides natural protection from weather while remaining visible to anyone passing through the narrow canyon. The location suggests the creators deliberately chose this spot for both practical and possibly ceremonial reasons. The symbols themselves defy easy categorization. Unlike the geometric patterns, animal figures, and anthropomorphic forms typical of Fremont or other regional rock art traditions, the Chalk Creek markings include what appear to be hands, human heads in profile, and various geometric symbols arranged in ways that suggest written language rather than individual pictographic elements. Some of the carvings show sophisticated artistic technique, with fine detail work and careful composition that indicates skilled craftsmanship. Initial attempts to interpret the symbols focused on comparisons with known Native American rock art traditions. However, the Chalk Creek markings show significant differences in style, technique, and apparent organization from documented Fremont, UT, or other regional petroglyphs. The symbols appear to be arranged in linear sequences that suggest narrative or linguistic structure more similar to written scripts than to the symbolic compositions typical of most North American rock art. The dating of the Chalk Creek carvings presents significant challenges. Without associated artifacts or organic materials suitable for radiocarbon dating, researchers must rely on stylistic analysis and the degree of weathering to estimate age. The symbols show various degrees of patination, suggesting they may have been created over an extended period rather than all at once. Some appear older and more weathered, while others seem relatively recent. Several theories attempt to explain the origin and meaning of these unusual markings. One possibility is that they represent an unknown or poorly documented Native American tradition, perhaps associated with mountain ceremonies or vision quests that required travel to remote, elevated locations. The high-altitude setting might have held special spiritual significance that justified the difficult journey required to reach the site. Another theory suggests the carvings could be the work of early European or American explorers, trappers, or miners who passed through the area in the 18th or 19th centuries. The symbols might represent a personal recording system, territorial markers, or simply the artistic expression of individuals spending extended time in isolation. However, this theory struggles to explain the apparent sophistication and consistency of the symbol system. More speculative theories have proposed connections to various ancient writing systems, including Egyptian hieroglyphics, Phoenician scripts, or even pre-Columbian contact with Old World civilizations. However, no credible evidence supports such connections, and mainstream archaeology firmly rejects these interpretations as examples of diffusionist thinking that lacks supporting evidence. The remote location of the Chalk Creek site has helped preserve the carvings while limiting detailed study. Access requires a challenging hike through mountain terrain, and the site receives relatively few visitors compared to more accessible rock art locations. This isolation has protected the carvings from vandalism and overuse, but has also limited opportunities for comprehensive documentation and analysis. Recent technological advances have opened new possibilities for studying the Chalk Creek hieroglyphics without damaging the original carvings. Three-dimensional scanning and high-resolution photography can capture details invisible to earlier researchers, while digital analysis techniques might reveal patterns or relationships not apparent to visual inspection. However, the site's remote location makes it difficult to bring sophisticated equipment to bear on the problem. The Forest Service manages the site with an emphasis on preservation rather than interpretation. Unlike more accessible archaeological sites, Chalk Creek receives minimal promotion or development, reflecting both the challenges of the location and the uncertainty about the carving's significance. This management approach protects the resource, but also limits opportunities for public engagement and scientific study. Local folklore has grown up around the Chalk Creek hieroglyphics, with various stories attempting to explain their origin and meaning. Some tales connect them to lost civilizations or ancient visitors, while others suggest they mark the location of hidden treasures or sacred sites. These stories reflect the human need to create narratives that explain mysterious phenomena, but they also demonstrate how unexplained archaeological sites become magnets for speculation and legend. Chapter 5: Moon House Architecture of the Ancients. Perched on a sandstone ledge overlooking a tributary of the San Juan River, Moon House stands as one of the most remarkably preserved and mysteriously arranged cliff dwellings in the American Southwest. Built by ancestral Puebloan people during the Pueblo-Thupur period between approximately 1050 and 1300 CE, this architectural marvel demonstrates the sophisticated planning and construction skills of its creators while raising enduring questions about its specific purpose and internal organization. The dwelling takes its evocative name from distinctive white pictographs painted on the back wall of the main structure. These circular and crescent-shaped designs, created with white mineral pigments, resemble phases of the moon and create a striking visual focal point within the ruin. The moon symbols appear alongside other geometric designs and may have held astronomical, ceremonial, or symbolic significance that we can only guess at today. Moon House consists of multiple distinct architectural zones that suggest careful planning and specialized use areas. The front portion of the alcove contains what appear to be residential spaces with typical domestic features including fire hearths, storage compartments, and living areas sized for families. The construction techniques show the characteristic masonry skills of ancestral Puebloan builders, with carefully shaped sandstone blocks fitted together using minimal mortar. Behind these residential areas lies a more enigmatic section of the dwelling that has puzzled archaeologists for decades. This rear portion features different architectural elements, including what may be ceremonial spaces, specialized storage areas, and rooms with unusual features that don't fit typical patterns of ancestral Puebloan domestic architecture. The layout suggests these spaces serve functions different from ordinary living areas. The most intriguing aspect of Moon House may be its internal organization and the relationship between different functional areas. Unlike many cliff dwellings that grew organically over time through additions and modifications, Moon House appears to have been planned as an integrated architectural complex. The spatial relationships between residential, storage, and possibly ceremonial areas suggest a level of social organization and planning that goes beyond simple shelter needs. Archaeological evidence indicates that Moon House was occupied during a period of significant cultural development in the region. The Pueblo III period marked the height of ancestral Puebloan civilization, characterized by large population centers, extensive trade networks, sophisticated agriculture, and complex social organizations. Moon House represents this cultural flowering, while also demonstrating local adaptations to the specific environmental and social conditions of Cedar Mesa. The construction of Moon House required significant labor investment and resource management. The builders had to transport building materials to the site, modify the natural alcove to accommodate their architectural vision, and create living spaces that could support extended occupation. The effort involved suggests the site held special importance beyond simple residential needs. Water excess played a crucial role in the location and design of Moon House. Natural seeps and seasonal water sources in the area would have been essential for supporting the population of the dwelling. The positioning of the structure takes advantage of both protection from the elements and proximity to reliable water sources, demonstrating the builder's intimate knowledge of local environmental conditions. The artistic elements of Moon House extend beyond the famous moon pictographs to include various other decorative and symbolic features. Geometric designs, handprints, and other motifs appear throughout the structure, suggesting that aesthetic considerations were important to the inhabitants. These artistic elements may have served social, religious, or cultural functions that helped define the identity and purpose of the community. Storage areas within Moon House reveal evidence of the sophisticated resource management systems that supported ancestral Puebloan communities. Granaries built into natural crevices and constructed storage rooms show evidence of corn, beans, squash, and other agricultural products that formed the foundation of the local economy. The volume and organization of storage space suggests surplus production and possibly redistribution activities. The relationship between Moon House and other sites in the Cedar Mesa region indicates it was part of a larger cultural landscape rather than an isolated settlement. Trade materials, similar pottery styles, and architectural techniques connect Moon House to a broader network of communities that shared cultural traditions while adapting to local conditions. This regional perspective helps explain some of the site's unique features. Preservation challenges at Moon House reflect the broader issues facing cliff-dwelling sites throughout the Southwest. The same natural alcove that protected the structure from weather for centuries now faces new threats from increased visitation, climate change, and the gradual deterioration that affects all ancient architecture. Balancing public access with preservation needs requires careful management and ongoing monitoring. The mysterious abandonment of Moon House mirrors the broader demographic changes that affected the entire Four Corners region in the late 13th century. Like many other ancestral Puebloan sites, Moon House appears to have been abandoned relatively suddenly, with portable items removed, but architectural features and heavy storage items left in place. The reasons for this abandonment remain debated among researchers. Chapter 6: Dark Canyon Ruins, the Great Abandonment. In the remote wilderness of southeastern Utah, Dark Canyon cuts a deep gorge through layers of geological time, creating one of the most spectacular and pristine canyon systems in the American Southwest. Within this rugged landscape lies an archaeological treasure trove that has captivated researchers and visitors for over a century, a vast network of ancestral Puebloan ruins that represents one of the most extensive and well-preserved ancient settlement areas in the region. The Dark Canyon Wilderness protects dozens of archaeological sites scattered throughout the canyon system and its tributaries. These sites range from small granaries and temporary camps to substantial cliff dwellings and open-air pueblos that once supported significant populations. The diversity and distribution of sites indicate that Dark Canyon served as a major population center during the height of ancestral Puebloan civilization, roughly from 1050 to 1300 CE. What makes Dark Canyon particularly remarkable is the exceptional preservation of organic materials and artifacts that typically deteriorate in less protected environments. The dry climate and natural shelter provided by overhanging cliffs have preserved wooden beams, basketry, textiles, and other perishable materials that provide intimate glimpses into daily life 8 centuries ago. These organic artifacts offer insights into ancient technology, artistry, and cultural practices that are rarely available at other sites. The pottery found throughout Dark Canyon represents some of the finest examples of ancestral Puebloan ceramic art. The vessels display the full range of Mesa Verde and Cayenta cultural traditions, with intricate geometric designs, innovative forms, and sophisticated construction techniques. The diversity of pottery styles suggests Dark Canyon was a crossroads where different cultural groups met and exchanged ideas, technologies, and artistic influences. Rock art panels throughout the canyon system document the symbolic and spiritual life of the ancient inhabitants. These pictographs and petroglyphs include representational images of animals, humans, and plants alongside abstract geometric designs and mysterious symbols whose meanings remain unknown. The rock art spans multiple time periods and styles, creating a visual record of cultural continuity and change over centuries of occupation. The architectural remains in Dark Canyon demonstrate remarkable adaptation to the challenging desert environment. The builders showed sophisticated understanding of local conditions, positioning structures to take advantage of natural shelter, seasonal water sources, and defensive positions while minimizing exposure to harsh weather. The integration of built and natural environments creates harmonious relationships between human settlements and the landscape. Agricultural terraces and water management features throughout the canyon reveal the intensive farming systems that supported these populations. The ancient farmers modified natural topography to create planting areas, constructed check dams to slow erosion and retain soil, and developed irrigation systems to direct precious water to their crops. These modifications required significant labor investment and demonstrate long-term commitment to the area. Storage facilities throughout Dark Canyon indicate the sophisticated resource management systems that allowed large populations to thrive in this challenging environment. Granaries built into cliff faces and hidden alcoves protected surplus crops from rodents, moisture, and human raiders. The scale of storage construction suggests not only successful agriculture, but also social systems capable of organizing collective labor and managing community resources. The distribution of sites throughout the canyon system reflects careful land use planning that maximized available resources while maintaining defensive advantages. Larger settlements occupy strategic positions that control access to water sources and travel routes, while smaller sites take advantage of specific microenvironments suitable for farming, hunting, or resource collection. This settlement pattern demonstrates sophisticated understanding of landscape ecology. Trade materials found in Dark Canyon sites connect the ancient inhabitants to extensive exchange networks that span the southwest and beyond. Turquoise, marine shells, exotic stones, and other non-local materials indicate participation in regional trade systems that moved goods, ideas, and cultural influences across vast distances. These trade connections help sustain local populations while introducing new technologies and cultural elements. The sudden abandonment of Dark Canyon in the late 13th century mirrors the broader demographic collapse that affected the entire Four Corners region during this period. Archaeological evidence suggests the abandonment was relatively rapid and complete, with entire communities leaving their homes and possessions behind as they migrated to new areas. The reasons for this dramatic population movement remain one of the great mysteries of southwestern archaeology. Environmental factors likely played a role in the abandonment of Dark Canyon. Tree ring studies indicate severe drought conditions in the late 1200s that would have stressed agricultural systems and reduced carrying capacity. However, these communities had survived previous droughts, suggesting that environmental stress alone cannot explain the complete abandonment of such a successful and well-established population center. Social and political factors may have been equally important in the abandonment decision. Evidence of increased conflict in the late Pueblo III period, including defensive architecture and burned structures, suggests growing social tensions that may have made continued occupation untenable. The abandonment of Dark Canyon may represent a strategic withdrawal to more defensible or politically stable areas. Chapter 7: Cave Towers, Sentinels of Stone. Rising from the rimrock of Cedar Mesa's labyrinthine canyons stand 7 enigmatic stone towers that have puzzled archaeologists and visitors for over a century. These structures, dating to approximately 1250 CE during the late Pueblo III period, occupy isolated positions on canyon rims with no nearby residential sites or obvious practical functions. Their remote locations, distinctive architecture, and mysterious purpose have made them some of the most intriguing archaeological features in the American Southwest. The towers share common architectural characteristics that distinguish them from typical ancestral Puebloan structures. Built from carefully shaped sandstone blocks using sophisticated masonry techniques, they rise between 15 and 25 feet in height with relatively narrow footprints. The construction required significant skill and labor investment, particularly given their remote locations that would have complicated material transport and building logistics. Each tower occupies a strategic position that commands extensive views across the surrounding landscape. From these elevated positions, observers could monitor vast areas of canyon country, including major travel routes, water sources, and other towers within the network. The sightlines between towers suggest they may have functioned as elements of a communication system, allowing messages to be relayed across great distances through smoke signals, reflected sunlight, or other visual methods. The internal architecture of the towers varies, but most feature multiple levels connected by interior passages or external handholds carved into the stone walls. Some contain small chambers that might have served as storage spaces or temporary shelters, while others appear to have been designed primarily as observation platforms. The narrow doorways and defensive positioning suggest security was an important consideration in their design. The dating of the cave towers places them during a period of significant social and environmental stress in the ancestral Puebloan world. The late 13th century witnessed increasing conflict, resource competition, and ultimately the abandonment of the entire Four Corners region. The towers may represent a response to these challenging conditions, serving as watchtowers, communication nodes, or defensive positions during a time of growing uncertainty. Astronomical theories propose that the towers served as observation points for tracking celestial movements. Their elevated positions and carefully oriented openings could have provided ideal conditions for monitoring the sun, moon, and stars for calendrical or ceremonial purposes. Some researchers have identified potential alignments with significant astronomical events, though definitive proof of astronomical function remains elusive. The religious or ceremonial interpretation suggests the towers served spiritual functions related to sky watching, prayer, or ritual activities that required elevation and isolation from daily life. The commanding views and separation from residential areas would have created appropriate conditions for vision quests, ceremonial observations, or other religious practices that demanded privacy and connection with the broader landscape. More practical theories focus on the tower's potential role in resource management and territorial control. Their positions along major travel routes and near important water sources suggest they might have served as checkpoints or observation posts that allowed communities to monitor and control access to critical resources. This interpretation fits with evidence of increasing competition and conflict during the late Pueblo III period. The construction logistics of the cave towers present fascinating puzzles about ancient labor organization and resource management. Building these structures required transporting materials to remote rim rock locations, often involving challenging terrain and significant distances from quarry sources. The effort involved suggests either substantial community investment or the work of specialized building groups with particular skills and responsibilities. Archaeological evidence from the tower sites includes limited artifacts that provide few clues about specific activities or functions. The absence of domestic debris, cooking features, or residential materials supports theories that the towers served specialized rather than habitation purposes. However, the lack of clear functional artifacts also makes interpretation more difficult and speculative. The relationship between the cave towers and contemporary settlements in the Cedar Mesa region remains unclear. While no major residential sites are located immediately near the towers, the broader landscape contains numerous cliff dwellings and pueblos from the same time period. The towers may have served the broader community network rather than individual settlements, functioning as shared infrastructure for communication, defense, or ceremony. Environmental factors may have influenced both the construction and eventual abandonment of the cave towers. The late 13th century drought that affected the entire southwest would have stressed agricultural systems and increased competition for water resources. The towers might represent adaptive responses to environmental challenges, serving as components of resource management or conflict resolution systems. The preservation of the cave towers varies considerably depending on their specific locations and exposure to weathering. Some remain nearly intact with walls reaching their original heights, while others have suffered significant deterioration from wind, water, and the gradual effects of time. The varying preservation states provide insights into both ancient construction techniques and ongoing conservation challenges. Chapter 8: Escalante, Petrified Forest, the Curse of Stone Wood. In the high desert country of south-central Utah lies one of the most spectacular concentrations of petrified wood in North America, a testament to ancient forests that grew here millions of years ago when this landscape was vastly different from today. But the Escalante Petrified Forest holds more than geological wonders. It has become the center of one of the most persistent and well-documented curse legends in the American West, a modern mystery that blends natural science with human psychology and cultural folklore. The petrified wood of the Escalante region formed approximately 135 to 155 million years ago, during the late Jurassic period, when the area enjoyed a warm, humid climate that supported extensive forests of conifers, ferns, and other prehistoric plants. Periodic flooding buried fallen trees in sediment and volcanic ash, creating the conditions necessary for petrification. Over millions of years, minerals gradually replaced the organic materials while preserving the detailed cellular structure of the original wood. What makes the Escalante deposit particularly remarkable is the exceptional quality and variety of the petrified specimens. The fossilized wood displays brilliant colors ranging from deep reds and oranges to yellows, purples, and blues, created by different mineral compositions during the petrification process. Iron oxides produce reds and yellows, while manganese creates purples and blues. The preservation is so detailed that growth rings, bark patterns, and even insect borings remain clearly visible. The scientific value of the Escalante Petrified Forest extends beyond its beauty. to provide important insights into ancient climates, ecosystems, and evolutionary processes. The fossilized wood represents plant species that lived during the age of dinosaurs, offering glimpses into terrestrial environments that existed long before human beings appeared on Earth. The specimens help paleontologists reconstruct ancient forest communities and understand how plant life responded to changing environmental conditions. However, it is the modern legend of the Escalante curse that has captured public imagination and created one of Utah's most enduring mysteries. According to widespread belief, visitors who remove pieces of petrified wood from the area will experience a streak of bad luck that continues until the stolen specimens are returned. This curse has generated thousands of documented cases of people mailing back purloined pieces along with letters describing the misfortunes they attribute to their theft. The curse legend appears to have emerged in the mid-20th century as visitation to the area increased and collecting became a serious conservation problem. Park rangers and local residents began promoting the curse story as a way to discourage theft and protect the finite resource of petrified wood. However, what began as a conservation strategy has evolved into a self-sustaining cultural phenomenon that continues to influence visitor behavior decades later. The documentation of curse-related incidents comes primarily from the steady stream of packages sent to Escalante State Park, containing returned petrified wood specimens. These packages often include detailed letters from senders describing the various misfortunes they experienced after taking the wood, from car accidents and job losses to relationship problems and health issues. The consistency and volume of these reports have made the Escalante curse one of the most well-documented examples of modern folklore in action. Psychological explanations for the curse phenomenon focus on concepts like guilt, confirmation bias, and the power of suggestion. People who take petrified wood, despite knowing about the curse, may experience heightened awareness of negative events in their lives, attributing normal misfortunes to supernatural causes. The act of theft itself may generate subconscious guilt that influences behavior and perception in ways that seem to confirm the curse's reality. The curse legend has created an interesting feedback loop that reinforces itself through social and psychological mechanisms. As more people hear about others' experiences with the curse, the story gains credibility and emotional power. Those who experience misfortunes after taking petrified wood are more likely to remember and report incidents that seem to confirm the curse, while ignoring positive events that contradict it. From a conservation perspective, the curse legend has proven remarkably effective at protecting the petrified wood resource. While scientific arguments about preservation and educational value may not deter casual collectors, the fear of supernatural retribution provides a powerful psychological deterrent. The curse has essentially created a cultural protection system that supplements legal restrictions and physical barriers. The letters and packages returned to Escalante State Park provide fascinating insights into contemporary folklore and the ways people interpret and respond to unexplained phenomena. The correspondence reveals how modern individuals negotiate between scientific and supernatural explanations for events in their lives, often embracing both simultaneously. The letters demonstrate the persistence of magical thinking in contemporary culture, despite scientific education and technological advancement. Skeptical analysis of the curse phenomenon points to the lack of controlled studies and the selective reporting of incidents that characterizes anecdotal evidence. Critics argue that people experience misfortunes regardless of whether they take petrified wood, but only notice and remember these events when they can be attributed to supernatural causes. The curse may be a classic example of correlation being mistaken for causation. Nevertheless, the sheer volume of reported incidents and the consistency of the legend across decades suggests that the curse has achieved a kind of cultural reality independent of its supernatural validity. Whether or not taking petrified wood actually causes bad luck, the belief in the curse has real effects on people's behavior and experiences. The psychological and social reality of the curse is undeniable even if its supernatural claims remain unproven. The management challenges created by the curse legend include dealing with the constant stream of returned specimens and the correspondence from people seeking to end their perceived misfortunes. Park staff must handle these situations with sensitivity while maintaining their educational mission and scientific credibility. The curse has become part of the park's interpretation while creating ongoing administrative burdens. The Escalante curse also raises interesting questions about the relationship between place, ownership, and spiritual beliefs in contemporary American culture. The idea that removing natural objects from their native locations can cause supernatural consequences reflects deeper anxieties about environmental destruction and the proper relationship between humans and nature. The curse may represent a modern expression of ancient beliefs about the sacred nature of natural places. Recent developments have included attempts to study the curse phenomenon more systematically, though such research faces obvious methodological challenges. How does one design a controlled study of supernatural retribution? The very attempt to apply scientific methods to folklore raises questions about the nature of belief, evidence, and different ways of understanding reality. The enduring power of the Escalante curse demonstrates that mystery and magic retain their hold on human imagination, even in our rational scientific age. Whether viewed as supernatural reality, psychological phenomenon, or cultural adaptation, the curse represents something fundamental about human nature and our relationship with the mysterious forces that seem to shape our lives. Standing among the brilliant colors of the Escalante petrified forest today, surrounded by the remnants of ancient forests turned to stone, visitors confront both deep time and immediate mystery. The specimens represent millions of years of geological processes, while the curse speaks to immediate human concerns about luck, guilt, and the consequences of our actions. Together they create a uniquely modern mystery rooted in both science and folklore. The curse of the Escalante petrified forest ultimately reminds us that mystery takes many forms and serves many purposes. Whether protecting natural resources, expressing cultural anxieties, or simply providing meaning in seemingly random events, the curse has become part of Utah's landscape of mystery, as permanent and puzzling as the ancient stone wood it protects. Conclusion. As our journey through Utah's most captivating mysteries draws to a close, we find ourselves surrounded by questions that seem to multiply rather than diminish with each story we've explored. From the gleaming monolith that appeared and vanished in our digital age to the ancient curse that continues to influence modern behavior, these 8 enigmas demonstrate that mystery is not confined to any single era or type of phenomenon. Each mystery we've encountered tells us something different about the relationship between humans and the landscapes they inhabit. The false Kiva speaks to spiritual practices we can no longer decode. Moonhouse reveals architectural sophistication that challenges our assumptions about ancient peoples. The Dark Canyon ruins document both remarkable achievement and mysterious abandonment. The cave towers suggest purposes and activities that remain tantalizingly beyond our understanding. What unites all these mysteries is their power to capture human imagination and inspire wonder. Whether created by ancient peoples responding to their environment and spiritual needs, or by modern individuals making statements we can only guess at, these sights and phenomena continue to draw visitors, researchers, and curious minds seeking connection with something larger than themselves. The persistence of mystery in Utah's landscape also tells us something important about the limits of knowledge and the value of the unexplained. In an age when we expect to have answers for everything, these unsolved puzzles remind us that some aspects of human experience and natural phenomena remain genuinely mysterious. They suggest that our understanding of the past, and even the present, contains significant gaps that may never be completely filled. Perhaps most importantly, Utah's mysteries demonstrate that wonder and curiosity remain essential parts of human experience. The same impulse that drove ancient peoples to create stone circles in hidden caves and paint moon symbols on cliff-dwelling walls continues to motivate modern visitors to seek out these places and ponder their meanings. The questions these sites raise about purpose, meaning, and human creativity connect us across centuries and cultures. As you drift towards sleep, surrounded by these stories of mystery and wonder, remember that the questions these places pose are as valuable as any answers we might find. They invite us to remain curious, to embrace uncertainty, and to find beauty in the unknown. In a world that often seems to have explanations for everything, Utah's mysteries remind us that some secrets are worth preserving, some questions are worth asking, and some wonders are worth protecting for future generations to discover and ponder in their turn. The red rock country of Utah continues to guard its secrets, holding them in stone circles and painted caves, in abandoned dwellings and mysterious towers, in cursed forests and vanishing monuments. These mysteries endure not because we lack the tools to solve them, but because they touch something fundamental in human nature that seeks meaning, connection, and wonder in the vast and beautiful mystery of existence itself.